Hi, this is Rachel, and it is September 29th, 2025, and I just thought I would take a quick video from my apartment. Living in downtown Portland. Supposedly, I'm living in a war zone, according to Trump. Don't mind the bird poop on the outside of the window. I apologize about that, but my apartment building doesn't feel the need to clean the outside of the windows more than once a year. So maybe that's the fault of Antifa. I'm just going to start saying everything that is wrong is just, Antifa, or DEI, right? But I just want to show what a war zone I'm living in. There's a guy over there in the parking lot. He's cleaning up trash. I don't know if that trash was left there by Antifa, but don't worry, he's on it. And then I see some people just like crossing the street, and oh, there's a city bus. I don't know. Is it bringing in paid protesters, courtesy of George Soros? Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's a war zone. I don't know where the fires are, but I'm sure they're out there. And all the facilities, the ICE facilities that are being attacked, even though there's only one. There's literally one in the entire city, and there's like a small group of protesters out there at night. Sometimes they blow bubbles, sometimes they block the driveway. It's absolutely a war zone, fires everywhere. I live a couple blocks from the fire station, but I saw a fire truck earlier. I'm sure it was out there putting out all these fires. This is just absolute chaos, living in hell. Look, there's people walking down the street. There's probably some crows and pigeons. And it's a little rainy, guys. So yeah, if you can hear the sarcasm in my voice, like seriously, I'm so actually bothered and stressed out by all of this. Like, no, it doesn't feel like living in a war zone, but you know what does make it feel like living in a war zone is the military helicopter that's been circling between over the ICE facility and the South Waterfront throughout the day and night for the past few days. I didn't hear it as much yesterday. I heard it all day on Saturday, and then I'm hearing it, like the low sound, rumble sound of it from afar right now. I haven't spotted it today, but I can hear it every so often. And for me, like on a sensory level, low rumbling sounds that just keep hanging around, not going away, kind of make me crazy, as weird as that sounds. So my brain is having a hard time filtering that noise out and not focusing on it. But maybe that's why I decided to take a funny video, just to distract myself and try to laugh a little inside about all of it, because it's not funny. It's really not. He's just lying about my city the same way he lied about my city in 2020. And that wasn't without consequence, because all of the things he said about us, and the negative coverage where Fox News and people would show like 1 or 2 blocks of an entire city that had protests and act like the whole place was in flames, that soured the reputation of my city in the downtown core, and it caused fewer people to come down here, and that made it less safe, and it made us less successful in the long run. Businesses would have had a somewhat easier time recovering from the pandemic if Trump and Fox News hadn't been telling everyone that the city was a war zone. So I'm still salty about that, and I'm mad that he's doing it again, and he's getting away with it. So yeah, and I also just want to comment on some of the things I heard during that conversation at the Oval Office. Oh, there's a police siren, guys, Oh, okay, anyway. When they were in the Oval Office talking about Portland, obviously there were the lies like that they're attacking federal buildings. No, they're not. There's just the one ICE building that they are causing a tiny bit of a ruckus at. And then the federal officers, even the Portland police, testified. And you can read about this on Oregon Live. There's an article, if you just look it up, where the Portland police were the ones that said federal agents were instigating confrontations with the protesters, not the other way around. There's just that one block, that one building in the whole city. There are no other federal buildings being attacked. It's a complete lie. There are not fires everywhere. It's a lie. It's not a war zone. It's a lie. So, but during that whole press briefing, or whatever you would call it, where they're all there in the Oval Office talking, for one, Trump is claiming that protesters are paid agitators and that George Soros is behind it. I haven't heard media point this out. I don't know why, if they're afraid of Trump at this point, or they just, I don't know. But the whole conspiracy theory around George Soros is very anti-Semitic at its core. It's a 95-year-old Jewish billionaire, and back when with anti-Semitic white supremacist groups like that, they would always talk about how Jews were controlling the media, controlling the world from behind the scenes, and that they always had their fingers in all the money, right? Like all those kind of anti-Semitic tropes. And over time, they started calling it instead like globalists, words like that, which are basically dog whistles, but with enough plausible deniability for everyone else to be like, oh, I don't know, I guess they're talking about globalists. No, it's like code for Jew. Like, let's just be real. And then over time, they started picking on George Soros in particular. Like he was just the absolute devil or something because he was donating to charitable causes, literally. Like, I wish protesters here were getting paid money, because the cost of living here is, like, the cost of rent is totally out of pace with people's actual incomes and wages and anything. But it's already very transparent for him to be bringing up George Soros, and then also obviously invalidating people's First Amendment rights to assemble and protest, and people having a point to make, because obviously if they're just paid actors, well, they don't have a point, right? So he's just trying to cause people to not trust what's happening and to justify his actions against them, whether they're constitutional or not. And the other part of it during that conversation was that J.D. Vance mentioned that it was a sort of blood libel against ICE agents. And I also have not heard anyone in the media point that out, take time to stop and go, what did he just say? And talk about what that means, what the history of the term is. I think a lot of people probably don't know. People may not even have time to keep up with the news and hear that he said it. They may not take the time to look it up. The last time, for what I could find of an American politician throwing that term out there was Sarah Palin back in like maybe 2011, and everyone was like, holy crap, she just what? And she was like, oh, I just meant it as a false accusation. And it's like, you chose an incredibly loaded term to express that, but it makes even less sense here. There's no false accusations being thrown at them, for one. But the second thing is that the history of the term blood libel, it goes back to the Middle Ages and the medieval period. It's been something that has come up throughout history. And during the plague, during World War II, there was an incident of it coming up in the 1920s here in the U.S. Basically, it's something that comes up where there's a conspiracy theory about Jewish people that they are killing and sacrificing children, usually Christian children, to consume their blood for ritual sacrifice. They would, like talk about them using the blood in bread, like during Passover, I think, and drinking the blood, maybe. Just absolute insane, deranged accusations. And the thing is it wasn't just accusations. It would often lead to killing Jewish people and justifying it. So that's what blood libel means. And the fact that he threw it out there, like, yeah, plausible deniability as usual. He could say, oh, I'm just talking about them accusing ICE agents of stuff. But it was done within the same conversation of Trump talking about George Soros. So, make of that what you will, because, I think you can know what to make of it. Like, it's all pretty clear if you pay attention, and it really makes me want to go out into the street and start screaming like Chicken Little that the sky is falling. It's very disconcerting and upsetting. It's really deeply upsetting. The other day I heard a clip of one of the anchors on Fox News talking about houseless people. And one of the other anchors was saying that, well, if they don't want to accept help, then they can either go to jail or, they can accept the help. And that's already a bit irritating because it assumes that the help is accessible and available at all times, and that's not the case. Or that there couldn't be any possible reason why the help that's offered wouldn't work for them. Like, if, let's say, there's a shelter and everyone's sleeping in one large room, and the person has PTSD and doesn't feel safe sleeping in a huge room with people. They don't want their stuff stolen. Maybe they can't bring their stuff with them to the shelter, and the stuff that they have held on to is precious to them. Maybe they have a dog and they don't want to give their dog up and they can't take their dog with them to the shelter. I mean, some of these things you could say, oh, well, they should just do it. But what if that were you? What would you do? You know, could we not just try to focus on accommodating some of those needs and creating more shelter options where people have a private space to sleep with a lock on the door, where they feel safe, or where they can bring a few of their belongings with them, or where they can bring a dog, or they can turn the dog in somewhere where it'll be completely cared for and guaranteed to be given back to them when they can care for it. I mean, we could put our focus into that rather than say, let's give you jail time. I don't know how that's supposed to help them rebuild their life and get a job in the future. But already that's, you know, that's whatever it is. But what happened right after that is the other anchor said, okay, or we could just do involuntary lethal injection. I mean, all the hairs on my body rose in unison. When I heard that, I could not believe what I was hearing. He's talking about murdering houseless people, and he said it so nonchalantly, so casually. No big deal, just murder them. Just involuntary, and doing it in with such sanitized language, you know, involuntary lethal injection. Just say murder. Just say mass murder, because that's what you are talking about. Those are people's children. Those are people's family. And you just want to murder them because they're poor and they live on the street and you don't like seeing it. So I could go on about this stuff forever. I just wanted to do a video just showing what it's actually like here in downtown Portland. You know, okay, we've got a truck. We've got some rain. There's a lot of crows that like to gather in these trees at night, which is actually really nice. There's a parking lot over there. The most interesting thing to say about this parking lot is that sometimes there are ghost tours that go around downtown Portland. I went on one once before I moved downtown, and they always would claim that this parking lot had a portal. So that's fun, right? But I don't think that is making it like living in hell here. So I can hear the helicopter again. It's just too much for me. 2025 is just, it's too much. Every single day there's something new, and no one has time to even remember or talk about the things that were happening like a week before, because there's 100 million new things that have happened in the week since. Like, aren't you tired? Because I'm tired. I'm tired of there being constant drama. You know, how are those prices in the grocery store doing, guys? You know, he's doing a very good job keeping you distracted from talking about that, from talking about the prices, from talking about the war in Ukraine that he promised to end on day one. No, they're not talking anymore as much about that Epstein list. They're distracted, right? Now we got to talk about his lies about Portland. And, you know, I would like to just not even take debate about that and keep the focus on these other things. But you know what? This is my city. This is where I was born and raised. My family goes back here generations. And I'm not saying it's a perfect city that doesn't have any problems. But the problems aren't the ones that he's talking about. And the problems won't be solved or helped by his actions. And his actions are a threat to this entire country. Because if you don't think that he couldn't turn his lies on you and your group and your town if you just didn't please him on that day, then think again. Think again. So with that, I'm going to end this video here.